All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Garden City Media. Tonight, I got a very, very special guest on. It's a guy I've been wanting to come on my show for a very long time and talk Mets. This guy is all over the place. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, you know Tony Met Show. That is who I got on tonight. So, Tony, welcome to the show. So happy to have you on, brother. How is everything going, man?
It's going great, man. I'm happy to be here. I've long wanted to be on the show with you, and I'm glad that we could make it all come together here. So really pumped about it, man.
Awesome, man. So obviously we're here. We're going to talk Mets and whatnot. Right now, let's go over. How do you feel about the state of the team right this second? Like, how do you feel like right now? Like after it's all said and done, everybody's gone. We got the new team. How are you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say they're gonna go win the World Series. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that they're definitive favorites out of the National League. That would be foolish to say that. But I feel good about this team for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, I like the idea of a fresh start. I like the idea that, yeah, that last core just unfortunately seemed to fail more often than they did succeed. Not necessarily like at an individual level, like Pete had his good seasons. Nimmo had his good years. McNeil was useful in different ways. And of course, even won a batting title a couple years ago. But for whatever reason, that group as a collective always seemed to fall short and in the most excruciating ways. So I'm excited about a fresh start. And a reason for that is because of some of the faces they brought in. Obviously, the biggest thing, fixing the rotation a little bit, getting Peralta, but on the position player side, even at 36 years old, I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to get out of Marcus Semien. Obviously, Bo Bichette, learning a new position, but still the bat should play really well. And then Luis Robert Jr. and all that without talking about some of the young guys coming up that we've seen this spring down during spring training.
Right.
So I'm feeling comfortable and pretty excited for this year.
Now, let me ask you this. We mentioned the core. You mentioned Alonso. You mentioned Nimmo. I can't put my finger on it, but something was just wrong about that core. They were together for 7 years. All right. We had 2022, which was great. But at the last, whatever it was, a week before the season ended, the Braves caught us. And that was just like it, that we were done. Then a year goes by, 2023, it's a disappointment. We bring in Verlander. And then 2024 happens. Hire David Stearns. The first half of the year looks like it's a repeat of 2023. But then OMG happens. Things catch fire. And we make it all the way to the NLCS. Got to get to game 6. Stretched out the Dodgers. Then we bring in Juan Soto. What happened, Tony? What am I missing? What the hell did I just watch last year?
I wish I had an answer. I don't have one either. I've been trying to figure it out since it all went down last year. And it was like a slow motion car wreck because we saw it happening pretty much since June on. I mean, the line of demarcation of last year was the series against Tampa Bay. If you remember, the Mets were rolling, best record in baseball,
Right.
20-something games over 500. I remember Clay Holmes went out, had a pretty rough start on a Friday night, and then the Mets got swept that weekend, and they never looked the same ever since that point. So I think a lot of it was, of course, the easy route of just saying, well, there were a lot of injuries, which there were. The rotation started getting banged up. That's going to happen to every team, though. And so I think it was honestly, if I could circle back even to 2024, let's be honest, the Mets were a year ahead of schedule.
Yes.
In 2024. We thought that was going to be a transition year where they didn't do much that previous offseason.
Bridge year, what we were told.
Bridge year. Perfect way to say it, Eddie. And they surprised us. They got hot at the right time. So that was just kind of like a little bonus here. And then obviously you add Soto, you expect, well, we should go further than game 6 of the 24 NLCS. But we were ahead of schedule in 2024. Last year was just a fall to reality. But I'm feeling better about going into 2026 now.
Right. Now, again, I'm just to go a little bit more on 2025. That record, after 8 innings, what was it? 0-72.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Like, all right, so I was at the last series against the Marlins. I went to every game, first game, big disappointment. You had, who was it? Alcantara just pitched a gem, just couldn't hit him. Next day, Clay Holmes pitches a gem. We hit. And that last game on Sunday, I get there late. It took me an hour to get in the stadium. It's already 2-3 nothing. But I'm watching that scoreboard, and the Reds are losing. And we got the bases loaded. Pete gets up, cracks one, hits a sound that I never heard in person. Thought that thing was gone. And I look over, my wife's like, he caught it. I'm like, oh my God. And we just never recovered. Like, what, and I know we can't describe it, but what was it? Why couldn't we hit with runners in scoring position? What, like, we had the hitters, but we just couldn't do it. I will never understand this.
It seemed like everything that could go wrong went wrong in 2025, at least from that date in June on, right? Through the rest
June 11th or June 12th, whatever it was, right?
Right around there, second week. Yep. And I don't know what it was, but it's, they say hitting is contagious. I mean, so is slumping sometimes, but I've never even seen anything like the way the Mets couldn't hit with runners in scoring position or in the clutch as a collective group the way they did last year. I mean, it was uncanny. It was like you would invent new ways not to score a pivotal run at any point in the game, and it killed them all year long. So, look, maybe it was partly the hitting philosophy. A lot of people criticized Eric Chavez, the previous hitting coach, myself included, over at times last year.
And Barnes, Jeremy Barnes
as well, right? The sabermetrics hitting coach guru or whatever they call him. So maybe, a lot of people got really upset when they saw the rest of the coaching staff get fired, essentially out from under Mendoza, but I felt like that was necessary.
I agree.
I'm hoping that whatever they brought in here now, and it's, I believe the name is Jeff Albert, and then it was Troy Snitker, who's the son of former Braves manager Brian Snitker, as the new hitting coaches.
So is it one hitting coach? Is it one main guy and one assistant, or is it two like we had last year where it was kind of Barnes and Chavez and you didn't know what was going on? What? Can you clarify that for us?
It's different from that, where Jeff Albert is the director of hitting for the entire Mets organization. So from the major league team on down through all the different minor league groups, affiliates, whereas Snicker is going to be the actual one in the dugout giving, instruction at bat to at bat, on field during batting practice, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So that makes me feel at ease. Now, let me ask you, you've been down to a lot of spring training games so far, right? You've covered a lot. I see you always posting. Is there anything different you noticed this year from previous years or anything like that? Like you covering this team?
I would say the biggest thing that I noticed is how comfortable Juan Soto looked here for the first 2-3 weeks that he was here before going to Team DR for the World Baseball Classic. You're lying to yourself if you couldn't admit that Soto just looked off in the first probably 2 months of the year last year.
You might even say 3 months of the year. Yeah.
I mean, really, until he had that torrid June, just historic month, he just never looked like he felt comfortable for whatever reason. That was the complete opposite of what I saw at camp. He was joking around with teammates. He was side by side with Luis Robert the entire time that they were down there together. He just looks like a guy that knows he's going to be here for a long time. That first year was a little tough. He was going to have all that pressure of that huge contract. And he looks like he's settled in now. And he's still managed to hit 43 home runs.
Right. Almost stole 40 bases.
Right. I mean, an incredible year by any standard. But that was the biggest thing that I personally observed, just on a personal note for one of the players down there.
Right. Well, that's the greatest thing we can hope for is, a consistent Soto from April till, October, and hopefully, even well into October. Maybe it's hopefully like it was with Carlos Beltran, where Carlos Beltran the first year had a lot of pressure, big contract. And then in his second year, we brought in a bunch of new guys, and that helped him. I'm hoping the same for Soto.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, Eddie, maybe even more, because look, at the end of the day, Soto's going to get his numbers are going to probably be close to what they were last year or in line with what he's done. But even more. Hopefully, him being more comfortable now and maybe being even more of a leader, there'll be better clubhouse chemistry. We know that was a big issue we talked about all off season. So hopefully,
Wait, let me stop you there.
yeah.
Clubhouse chemistry, and we hear this a lot. We heard this a lot off season. What was it? Like, and I don't want to get into the whole political thing. I don't want to get into that because I don't think that's relevant. I really don't. I played baseball for a very long time. Played until I was in my 20s. We never talked about politics on the baseball field. And again, I've never been in I never played Major League Baseball. But do you really think that was what was going on? It was a political thing? Or was it just a matter of these guys just didn't fit?
I think they just didn't fit. And like you were saying before, from 2019 on, that core of McNeil and Nimmo, Lindor, or not Lindor, but of Alonso, and then eventually 2 years later with Francisco, they just always underachieved. 2022 ran out of steam, blew it. 2021 had a 10-game lead at one point in the middle of summer and didn't even make the playoffs that year. 2023 was a disaster, of course, as we know. I mean, just something about that group just didn't mesh well. I think more than any politics that might have been involved was the whole captaincy issue. When we heard how Lindor, well, of course, all the fans wanted Lindor to be named captain. And I said this at this time last year when it was at the peak of its, the talk about Lindor being named captain. I felt like Nimmo might feel some type of way about him not being named captain for having being the longest tenured Met, drafted by the team, total role model, hustler, all that stuff. And we've heard it sounds like he kind of did feel some type of way. So I think that was probably the biggest thing.
Do you think that's why Steve Cohen came out and said there will never be a captain under my ownership? Do you think that was it? Because that might have been why. I mean, because let's face it, they both deserved captaincy, Nimmo and Lindor. You know what I'm saying? Both very, if you had a son and you wanted your son to be like a baseball player, you'd want him to be like Brandon Nimmo or Francisco Lindor. They're both leaders. So
100%. I definitely do believe that is why Cohen just outright squashed it. And I love that he did it. First and foremost, naming a captain does not get you any more wins. Not naming you a captain on your team does not give you any more losses. There's almost nothing to gain from it. And like Cohen said, it's an ever-changing clubhouse with different personalities and different guys in there. Why do you need to have a captain that maybe doesn't mesh as well with a different group? It should be decided amongst them in the clubhouse. So loved that. And it just felt like Cohen kind of just stepping on a landmine so that Lindor never needs to field another question about this ever again. He can go focus on being the best baseball player he can.
I couldn't agree more. And here's another thing, too, that people don't talk about with Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien was one of 3 captains in baseball last year. So I think, yes, we gave up Nimmo, who was a proven leader, very productive player, but we got a captain in return as well. And he's not going to be named team captain, but if you're named captain in baseball, I think that's a very high honor. Even though we may not think it as fans, I do think it is an honor. And I think that's a big reason why we went out and got Semien. I think I think not only for his club, but for his leadership and what he could bring to the clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. We've heard so much about
throwing that out there.
Oh, sorry. Good on my end, no?
I think we just froze up for a second.
Oh, did we? Oh, okay. Are we good now?
We're good. We're good.
Froze up. I'm excited for Semien's glove. I'm excited to see what he brings as a leader. We've heard a little bit of dribs and drabs coming out of Texas with him and Seager having a kind of weird relationship. I don't know the details.
You buy any of that? I don't know if I buy that either.
I don't know what to buy. I don't know what to believe. They say there's one side and another side, and then there's the truth, and that's just the way I'll look at it. And so look, I'm excited. I think 36 years old, he looks like a gamer. He's had a resume as a total pros pro over his entire career. So I think he's going to definitely be a vocal leader in that clubhouse and just one by example.
Do you think? Are you worried at all about his bat, declining? I know he's been a little bit on the decline the past few years. Are you worried about that, or are you just thinking, I think we got him more for his glove and kind of leadership than we're worried about him offensively. I think he's going to be fine offensively, to be honest, especially year one. I compared him to I think he's going to have a year like Marte's first year with the Mets. Kind of like that, those numbers, 20-something home runs, 70, 80 RBIs, not stealing the bases, but sort of that kind of thing, little bit higher, maybe not, 270, 280, but maybe something like 260, something like that. I think that's where he'll peg in this year.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. And if you get that, like, you'll be jumping for joy. Like, that would be amazing. If you're expecting him to be Marcus Semien, the former MVP shortstop caliber player from Oakland or with Toronto
Right.
or Texas, like, you're going to be disappointed. But if he could put up those kinds of numbers like you just suggested, then yeah, and I think they're achievable. If you looked at where he played last year, Globe Life Park, the new stadium that the Rangers have played in for the last 2 years, it is one of the least hitter-friendly ballparks to right-handers, especially pull right-handers like Marcus Semien. I think he's going to have a much more favorable time at Citi Field. The only thing I want to caution Met fans about is we know the first month and a half or two at Citi Field with the way the wind blows in off the meadow or off the bay is going to nerf a lot of power, especially from right-handers. So don't freak out. I think there's going to be a point where he goes absolutely bonkers. I could easily see him doing, like you said, that 20 to 25 home run range and really being solid.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy about Semien. I like the trade. Let's get into the state of the team. What's going on in right field? Looks like Benj is going to win this job, but there's talks about Talkman. There's talks about this other, there's talks about Ewing. What's going on in right field?
It's tough because there's really no wrong answer right now. Benj is obviously one of the top prospects, not only in the Mets system, but in all of baseball. And he has looked really good this spring, hitting over 300, using the opposite field, good exit velos, like all the things we've heard about the guy since we basically drafted him out of Oklahoma State 2 years ago. At the same time, Mike Tauchman's having a really good spring as well. And this is a guy that for some reason was overlooked by the rest of the league in free agency this year. He's at a 359 on base percentage over the last 3 years. So this is a guy that gets on base really well, plays average, if not above average defense in the outfield. So
how old is he, Tony?
He's 35. So,
okay.
He's older. He's older. Don't get me wrong, but he's someone that, like, you're not losing by putting him out there. Like, you're not just giving up an at bat by putting Mike Tauchman out there. And then at the same time, like, Benj only got 24 games in AAA last year. Do you want to just give him a little more time to get, a little bit extra reps down there and before putting him on the opening day roster? Like, I'm still torn on it. I'm 50-50 on which way I lean.
Right. I mean, with Benj, you could start him, but then again, he has options. So starting him at the minor leagues doesn't make a lot of sense. I get it. And Tauchman, I guess he's 35. You mentioned the on-base percentage. What's a good power season from him? Can we expect 20 homers? Can we expect 15? What's his ceiling? As if he plays 162 in Tauchman, what's his best case scenario there?
I would say if he played in 162, which we know nobody does anymore, but if he played like 140, essentially was the everyday right fielder, his ceiling's probably 15. I don't think he's going to hit more than 15, 17 home runs, and that's going to be like, wow, good. Okay, wow, that's impressive from Mike Tauchman. But like I said, going to get on base a lot, have a pretty decent batting average. That's just what he's done over the last couple of years. It's no guarantee to repeat. But again, if Carson Benj is ready, I don't want to hear any of the stuff about, save him the service time. If you have him start the year in AAA for the first month and a half, you get to, you get the Mets get that extra years. Don't give me any of that. If they think Benj is ready right now,
put him there.
Put him out there. Put him out.
Right. And then, so if Benj makes it, what happens with Tauchman? Does he stay on the team? What do you think happens there?
Well, he is on a minor league deal, so the Mets could put him down in AAA. I believe how it works is he would technically still have to accept that assignment. I'm not completely sure, to be honest with you, at the moment, but I would love to see both of them. I just talked about this the other day. I just don't see how you could do it, because if you have Tauchman as the guy off the bench, well, then you have two outfielders on your bench with Tyrone Taylor, Tauchman, Luis Torrens, of course, as your backup catcher.
Right.
And as it stands, Mark Vientos as your backup infielder. I mean, you just can't do that. If you put Brett Beatty at the DH in that hypothetical lineup right there, you can't move him around for late inning defensive changes because that would eliminate the Mets DH spot during that game. You take
Okay.
him out to put him at second base. Well, now you have to have a pitcher go up there to hit or pinch hit for that pitcher. So I just don't see how you could have Talkman and Benj on this roster as much as I would love for that to be the case. So
I get it. I get it. So if you had a gun to your head, I think Benj is going to make it. Gun to your head. What's your answer?
I'm going to go with Talkman.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Talkman because I think that David Stearns believes in Benj and wants him to be so successful. He cares about him that much that he's actually willing to let him start the year in AAA. And I know that sounds totally contradictory, but let him go get a month in AAA, get a little more experience, go tear the cover off the ball, build that confidence even more. Talkman's going to do just fine for that time. And then look, there's going to be an inevitable injury somewhere, right? Or maybe Talkman's just not doing anything for you on the major league roster. Option him back down in the minors, bring up Benj. I mean, I feel like that's probably the route that David Stearns wants to go.
Okay. So I appreciate that. I thought it would be Ben just because of the way he looks, but I get the long-term play too. Let's make sure this guy is fully ready. Let him get ready to go. And Talkman, he's on a minor league deal. If he fails, well, so be it. We've seen the Mets cut guys in the past. Getting the center field. We haven't seen Luis Robert play at all up until I think he's going to be playing this weekend or this week. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I think sometime this week. This was the Mets' plan all along. They said it immediately when he reported for camp. They wanted to work on his lower body, essentially just strengthen some areas. I don't know all the science behind it, but that's where he has unfortunately missed so much time with Chicago over the last couple of years is because of lower body injuries. So
like hamstrings, quads, things like that,
calf,
knees,
all that stuff. Right.
Okay. All right.
So basically they're just hoping to play him slow out of the gate like they have here. And then I would assume this will roll into the regular season as well, where he is not going to be penciled into the lineup every single day, where maybe he'll DH even a little bit here and there and have Tyrone Taylor out there in center field to continue to work and build him up. But this is all part of the plan of hopefully him getting back to that 2023 version of himself where he was 13th in American League MVP voting, hit 38 home runs, damn near had 100.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah. So look, if he can even just be half of that,
yeah,
that could totally transform this lineup. And we've heard Mendy say, I think the direct quote he said a couple of days ago was, man, if he stays healthy, we've got a hell of a player.
Right. I mean, look, I like what you're saying. Let's, almost like with the Knicks, how they treat Mitchell Robinson. Let's take care of this guy's health first and foremost. DH him. We know he could play great when he plays, but we need to get the best out of them. So I like that plan. I'm not crazy about Tyrone Taylor. I don't like his bat, but he can play the position. So I'll give him that. So I totally understand now. Do I think he could get to those 2023 numbers? I really don't. But like you said, if we get half that, 20 home runs, 250, 260, I'd sign up for that in a minute.
Oh, without a hesitation, especially what the Mets got out of center field last year, which was a black hole. I mean, Cedric Mullins in the second half. Before that, Tyrone Taylor was brutal. You had a little bit of Jeff McNeil, who was serviceable defensively, but even he wasn't all too great.
He should have never been in center field, him or Nimmo, ever.
No. And even sprinkle in a couple of games, I think, from Luis Angel Acuna in there as well. So, I mean, it was just a train wreck. So almost anything is going to accidentally be better from Luis Robert Jr. this year than what the Mets got out of center field in 2025.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, as long as he could stay healthy, that changes everything. Also, too, he's going to be on a competitive team this year. So hopefully that motivates him too. So, we'll see. When it comes to first base, is it Polanco's job? Is Beatty getting reps? What's going on there? Because I'm still trying to figure this out.
I'm right there with you. I mean, it's just strange. You sign Jorge Polanco in the offseason, and you announce he's going to be the new first baseman about a week or two after Pete Alonso leaves. And we're like, all right, you just signed a guy to play first base that has never played it in his career before.
Right. And you talked about run prevention, run prevention, run
A
prevention.
little contradictory, right? It just didn't really make sense up in my brain, at least. But it seems a lot of fans felt that way, and that's how it's played out in camp so far. Because look, then they signed Bo Bichette. You moved Brett Beatty off of third base, the position that he played the most throughout not only last year but his entire career. And so it's like, all right, he was also one of our best bats in the second half last year in Beatty.
Right.
So I personally think if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Beatty's going to play the most reps at first base this year.
Really? So you think he'll play more than Polanco?
I do. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, going from third to first, obviously kind of a natural change going just from one corner to the other. Obviously, there's some different things you need to learn about first base, cutoffs and stuff like that for being ready for
angles where you're going to throw it from.
Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be some changes, no doubt about it. But I trust the corner infielder to be able to make that change. We've seen it millions of times over the years in Major League Baseball. That's not to say Polanco will not be able to play a good first base as well. I just think that Beatty's going to be more comfortable there. And I think it's going to come down to who is hitting better. And I think Beatty's actually going to have a pretty solid year built off of last year's second half.
Okay. All right. I mean, listen, we bought in Polanco definitely for the runners in scoring position, his batting average at running scoring position. Bought him in for the clutch factor. We saw the home runs off of Scooble in the postseason. So I definitely like the signing. Obviously, he's not going to be Pete Alonso, but I don't expect him to be Pete Alonso. Go out there, give me 20-something homers. I just hope that he doesn't revert back to his 2024 numbers, which were pretty bad. So that's my only concern there. What's your thoughts on Bichette at third? Is he locked in there, or could Beatty possibly get in there? Like, what's going on there? I mean, I think it's Bichette's job, but I don't want to say that 100% because I don't know.
I would say it's Bichette's job, but to lose potentially. Like, the Mets really don't have any skin in the game with Bo Bichette. This is essentially a one-year contract. So while I think they told him that they expect him to be the everyday third baseman when they agreed to that contract, I also think that if he is so horrific over there, which I don't expect him to be, I think he will be just fine. I mean, there's going to be times where just going nuts about it because he's just having a rough game or whatever, but they will put Beatty there. And they even said that to Beatty. They called him pretty much right before or after the Bichette signing and said, look, we're going to be moving you around, but you're still going to get some time at third base this year. So like I said, the whole thing with the Mets not being able to have both Tauchman and Benj on this roster, in my opinion, is because where else do you put Beatty then in that situation if he's DHing? I think Beatty's going to be a guy that maybe starts a game at first base and then moves over to third base later in the game.
Kind of like the new Jeff McNeil, maybe.
Exactly. He's the new super utility guy on this roster.
Right. So, and do you think he's got skin in the game in the outfield at all? Maybe some left field? I don't know about right field, but I do know about, he can play some left.
Yeah, no, I think when the need arises, and we're kind of like not discussing the elephant in the room here, but while I don't think it's going to happen, Tyrone Taylor doesn't hit like he did last year. I mean, if he doesn't even do a little bit of damage, we could be talking about DFA territory,
right?
Which I know sounds crazy because you don't want to lose a quality center fielder defensively. But if Beatty can show the ability to play both those corner outfield positions well enough, you could always call up Nick Morabito in that case. That would give you a little flexibility. He could play some center field when Luis Robert Jr. is not in the game. So just a little wrinkle to all of this that I would throw out there.
Do the Mets have anybody else, in the minor leagues that could potentially play center field? Like, if Robert was to go down, just because I'm just curious, is anybody that close?
Center field wise, I think Nick Morabito is.
Okay, so it's Morabito.
Morabito. Okay. They put him on the 40-man roster this year to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. He's a guy that I think is close to major league ready, and I think when a need arises, especially up the middle in center field, he would be the guy that they would go to. We've seen AJ Ewing has been putting on a show lately.
Yes.
I mean, he might be rising faster. Most people thought maybe 27, but he has been performing so well lately that might not be that far-fetched to think about him later in the second half of this year, as well as someone in center field potentially.
Is he known for his glove though? But because like from my perspective, I kind of see they talk about his bat more than his glove. Could you fill me in on that anymore? Like his glove, is he a plus outfielder? Is he average guy? Where are we with Ewing?
Yeah, so what I read on Fangraphs actually just this afternoon about him is a guy that's supposed to have really good range in center field. Someone that I would say right now they probably peg as a slightly above average center fielder, but with room to get even better. I'm not sure you're going to see him winning Gold Gloves, but someone that's going to go out and get the ball because he's got so much speed and he has got great range. It's just one of those things where they, scouts are talking about, first, step off a ball and, routes, stuff like that he needs to improve on like any minor leaguer.
Right. Well, I mean, that's a good problem to have. Now, let's get to the other elephant in the room. What's going on with Mark Vientos? Like, is he going to make this team? Is he going to be the DH? What's going on with him? Because I don't know what to make of it.
I'll just say it's not good. It is not good right now. Did not look very good in his Grapefruit League at-bats before going to play for Nicaragua. And he has not been performing very well in the World Baseball Classic. I think they got eliminated already. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think so. I think yesterday they got, I think Puerto Rico took them out. Am I right? I think it was Puerto Rico.
That sounds right. I'm pretty sure that they're done. So I would assume he's coming back to Mets camp here soon. And I would have him in the starting lineup every day and be telling him this, you got to win a spot on this roster because you're in danger right now, man. Like,
yeah,
you don't have a position. And if you hit the way you did last year, you're useless to us. I mean, we would love for you to be the DH on this team. We're giving you every opportunity to seize the reins for that. But that would really fix a lot of that roster logjam I was talking about if the Mets didn't have Vientos on this team. You're able to bring up another real true backup infielder instead of him. So he's got to get going. It's been a not so great spring for him.
Right. And option wise, is he out of options now? Because I'm not, I don't remember where he was at, but it seemed to me like I think he had maybe one or two options left. If I'm right, I think it's one.
I think he might have one. Don't quote me, but I wanted to say one. So I think you're on that one, Eddie.
Okay, so that doesn't sound good. And again, this is coming from a person in 2024. I thought this guy could hit 30 home runs a year. Like,
me too.
And then last year happened, and he just never recovered. Is it something mental with him, or is it just sometimes the league just catches up to you and they got the book comes out on you and you just can't escape it? Is it that, or? What do you think it is?
I think the book came out on Vientos. I think that they were just hitting him with heavy doses of breaking balls last year. How many times did we see him go down on 3 pitches and all 3 of them were sliders in the left-handed batter's box? He just couldn't lay off. He was feasting on fastballs in his rookie year, or whatever you want to call it, 2024. I don't know if he had enough service time from 2023, but in 24, he was just mashing fastballs, and he is an elite fastball hitter. But now that they're throwing those wrinkles in there with curves and sliders and sweepers and whatever else you want to call them, he's just not been able to make the adjustment. So the book's out on him, and now it's up for him to make an adjustment to the adjustment.
Now, let me ask you, if he doesn't make the team, are they just going to cut him, or do you think he gets maybe traded? Because I could see there's definitely a couple teams that would be out there that would give us something. I don't know how much that we could get for him at this point because his value is at pretty much an all-time low. What do you think? You think we could get something for him, or you think he's just DFA and that's it?
I don't think they would DFA him. Again, this is all dependent on his options and how that works. I have to go back and look at that. And
I'm saying if he's out of options and this is it, do we trade him, or is it just cut bait and say good luck?
Yeah, well, honestly, man, I think David Stearns looked every possible place to try and trade Mark Vientos this offseason. Okay. And they just didn't get the kind of interest and package and a return that they were seeking. Like, it's one thing to want to trade a guy, but it's another thing to be desperate to trade a guy. I think they wanted to trade him, but they weren't going to do it for free. They weren't going to do it for pennies on the dollar, not after just one bad year.
So Stan right here says he has no minor league options remaining for the 2026 season. So they got to keep him or it's DFA. I guess that's it.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So, I mean, look, if you want to trade him for some 19-year-old relief pitcher from another team's roster and cut bait and just unfortunately have to move on, then I think that could be a route that they end up going. But I'm with you. I felt the way I felt after 24, man. I thought this was our third baseman of the future, or at least DH. That'd be a 30 to 35 home run bat.
Right.
So I still got it in like in the bottom of my heart. I feel like it's in there somewhere for
right. I mean, I want him. If it was up to me, I want him at DH. You know, I want him to go out there and prove himself, but I also want to win. I don't want any BS, so I don't want to see him starting off hitting 143 for the first 2 months of the season. So with that said, who's gonna get the job at DH, Tone? Who do you think that ends up? Is it going to be Polanco? Is it like, where do you think that goes right? And this is as of today. Obviously, things could change, you know, but right now, who's at DH for us?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, since I think Beatty's getting the majority of reps at first, it'll probably be Polanco at DH.
Okay.
They brought this guy in because he hit 26 home runs last year, and he's clutch with runners in scoring position, right? So, like, they were going to try him at a new position, but mostly for his bat is why they brought him in. So he's going to be an everyday regular, in my opinion. I think that he'll probably assume the DH duties if Vientos doesn't really start to show some life here at the end of camp. But I will say, it's probably a little bit of a rotating door where some days it could be Beatty, some days it could be Polanco. And then, some Vientos, depending on, again, if he even makes the team. But wouldn't be surprised to see Luis Robert Jr. in there to keep him off his feet and fresh. Maybe even Bo Bichette here and there, again, in the idea of trying to keep him fresh and healthy, but also maybe disguising his defense a little bit if it's not looking so good at first.
Right.
So I'm not going to say there's an everyday permanent DH, but going into the year as of right now, I would say Polanco's probably in line to get the most reps there.
Yeah, I agree. And I think him at DH probably gives you your best lineup there, you know, with Beatty and all that. Do you see any surprises with this team? Anybody that may come as a surprise to you this season? When you look at this team, when you watch spring training, you think anybody's going to give us like a surprise that's just coming out of nowhere, or maybe, you know, elevates his game? You see anything like that?
There's a guy that I'll say that I guess he's a prospect, so I don't know if it's fair to say it'd be a surprise, but it'd be the relief pitcher Ryan Lambert.
Okay.
I think he's going to get some really serious, impactful innings for this team in the bullpen at some point this year. I don't know that it's going to be immediately or it's going to be like even 60 innings, but I could see him pitching like 40 to 45 innings for this team, getting a call up in like, say, June, and sticking in the Mets bullpen through the rest of the year. And if they're lucky enough to make the playoffs, like, that dude has future closer written all over him. He has the mindset. He's got a little bit of screw loose. I don't know if you saw, he said he ate something like 100 eggs a week.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. Raw too, right?
Yeah, raw, right.
Like Rocky or something, man.
So that's the kind of mentality you want from a closer. Oh, and by the way, can throw 102, right? And dot it. Like, so I think that dude is going to come out and just like, once he gets to the big leagues, I'm thinking maybe sometime in June, maybe even middle of May. I don't think he's going to give up a bullpen spot. He's going to be here for a while.
Now that we're talking about bullpen, does Craig Kimbrell make the team? Because, I mean, he hasn't been terrible, but hasn't been kind of outstanding either. Kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. And I think when you're at the twilight of your career, like someone like Kimbrell is, you kind of got to be outstanding, right? During spring training, you kind of have to really show out.
Yeah.
And maybe
he's strike people out.
Yeah. Like strike out the side, like don't walk anybody. I remember the game I watched a couple of days ago. He walked, I think, 2 guys in a row. He wiggled out of it, but he gave up a run. I don't know. I'm going to say no, but there's always going to be something. Hey, someone wakes up tomorrow and their shoulder doesn't feel right. Well, boom, there you go. Craig Kimbrell, guy with that future Hall of Fame closer. Like, you give him a shot for the first at least 2 to 3 weeks of the year. You see if you could just tap into it for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right. So if he was to make the team, his role to me would probably be first guy out of the pen. If I'm right about that, I don't see him being anywhere, 7, 8, 9 innings at all. I think he's sort of would be like a Brazabom type where, he's a guy you go gets maybe in the 5th inning, 6th inning, something like that. Where do you see him if he makes a team?
Yeah, no, totally agree with you there. Like guy that, first guy out of the pen, maybe even a guy when you're trailing by 3 and you kind of want to keep it close without burning one of your serious arms. Unfortunately, that burned the Mets a lot last year, right? We'd be down 2 or 3, and then we'd put in a guy that's bottom of the totem pole in the pen, and now all of a sudden it's a 5-run game. So you got to be careful with that, but that's the kind of role I think he would start as. But I will say this. Hey, if he pitches well in that role for a little while, you start to bump him back up because you've seen him do it 7th, 8th, 9th. I mean, World Series, right? So I think that's it's possible. All condition on the condition he makes the team first, right?
Right. And overall, when you look at this bullpen, what's your expectations? I'm very happy with it. Even though Diaz is gone, I didn't really care because we picked up Devin Williams. And if you look at Devin Williams' career since 2019, he's been a top 3 closer in baseball. So again, yes, he's not at Diaz's level. Diaz is better, but it's been Diaz, Bader, and Williams has been the top 3 closers in baseball over the last 4 or 5 years. Easy. So I feel good about that, and I like the rest of the moves as well. I liked the kid from the Yankees. What's off the? I can't name off the top of my head. Whatever. But I like the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all. I'm trying to think of this Yankee. It's obviously not Weaver you're thinking of, but who's?
It is Weaver. I like Luke.
Oh, it is Weaver. Okay, I thought you.
Yeah, I like Weaver. That's what I meant.
Okay, so I like the idea of it on paper, no doubt, and the reason I do is because relievers are so finicky. They're year to year a lot of times. I mean, there's so few relievers. It's usually your closer that are like rock solid every single season. And lest we forget, hey, we were not always loving Edwin Diaz. All right. And this is me, being like the bitter divorcee over here, like, she wasn't even that great. No, but let's go back to 2024. Dude lost his closer job twice in the middle of that year. Missed all of 23 because he
I forgot all about that. You're totally right about that.
I mean, like, it was elite in 2022, but it took 3 years.
How about 2021? Yeah, he was terrible.
Right. I mean, 2019, we were ready to run the guy out of town in his first. So
remember it point to the sky and it'd be a home run?
Right. Him and Hansel Robles, pointing to the sky together. I mean, just absolutely miserable with them. But look, you get a year like you did out of Diaz last year, and like, of course, it's hard to like pretend like you're not going to miss him. But Williams was one of the best closers in baseball. We would have been saying that up until last year. Just one bad year on a year where he got traded to New York, of all places, for his one and only season with a new team. And I think he's going to bounce back. I don't know that he's going to be the airbender, crazy top 2, 3 closers that he was in Milwaukee a couple years ago, but I think he's going to be really solid. Weaver, I think hopefully you get a bounce back from him. It wasn't a great season last year. He had some injury issues there in the Bronx. And then I think the biggest concern for me is just like it always is in the pen, the injury side. What is Minter going to be coming off that torn lat? How does Brooks Raley look at 37? Coming off Tommy John surgery, even though he was great last year. So
we have 3 lefties. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? It's Raley. What's his name?
Minter, Raley right now are only 2 I could think of that I kind of have penciled in for the MLB roster. I think that would probably be the only 2 right now. There's Brian Hudson as well, who is a guy.
But is he going to? I don't know if he makes the team though.
I don't think he's going to be honest, but it's possible. He has apparently looked pretty good. I haven't seen much of him, if I'm being totally honest, but we've heard a lot about his name actually in the last week. So, I mean, definitely possible, because Minter's not going to start the year with the team. He's not planning to return till I think it was the beginning of May. So
he's another guy that's always hurt, Tony.
Right.
Minter.
Right. And so I'm worried about this pen, honestly, if I'm being totally honest, as we're talking this out. I'm a little worried about it.
Right. And are you concerned with anybody else there that concerns you? The kid we got from Milwaukee with Devin Williams, I forget the name off the top of my head. Are you concerned about any of these guys, or?
I mean, for Myers, I'm excited, honestly, because I mean, this is a guy that showed some really good stuff in the past, both as a reliever and as a starter. I don't know if you remember, it was game 3 of that wild card series in 24. He started that game for the Brewers against the Mets and shut them down for 5 innings
Right,
before Pete had the walk off. So,
right,
guy that has had some injuries situations in the past, but has shown a lot of success in both a reliever and a starter role. So just in Myers specifically, he's a guy I'm actually really excited about. I was really happy to know he was a part of that trade.
right, right, right. Yeah, look, I mean, I guess if you like you said, if we stay healthy, the bullpen should be fine. But guys are year to year, relievers are year to year, and you never know. It might not be perfect, but I'll give Stearns the benefit of the doubt because every year in Milwaukee, the bullpen was always like a top 5 bullpen in baseball. So I think that's the one thing he's good at is building a bullpen. So I'm not too worried about that. When it comes to the starting rotation, where are you there? Just 1 through 5 or 1 through 6, because that's what we have to do, unfortunately. Where are you at with that, Tone?
I actually feel a lot more positive than I think some fans feel about it. I feel great about Peralta and McLean at the top.
Oh,
I mean, that's
forget
a
about
nice 1-2 punch. Like, I'm not going to say it's a top 5 in baseball, but it's up there. It's close. It's definitely top 10 in my opinion. If McLean continues to become what we've seen him do so far. And then the rest, 3 through 6, let's call it. If Holmes does what he did last year, gives you 32 starts with a 3.5 ERA, that's exactly what you want from a number 3 starter.
Sign me up.
Everybody would sign for that on the dotted line right now. So that's the hope there with Holmes. And I got to believe that at least 2 of the 3 of David Peterson, Senga, and Manaya are going to bounce back and pitch at least closer to what they have normally done throughout their careers. And if you get that, you're feeling really good about this rotation where Senga could maybe be your 4, or maybe he's pitching the way he did in the first half last year.
But Tony, this Senga, look, when he pitches, I love him. Right? When he pitches, but this guy can't stay on the field. And you got to get a 6-man rotation with this guy because he's so fragile. Like, I don't know. If he's pitching the way he does, and he's excellent, don't get me wrong. But if he can't stay out on the field, I'm sorry. I'm willing to kind of move on from him almost. And I know you might say, Eddie, you're crazy. Look at his numbers when he pitches. He's excellent.
No, because I hate the if game. I hate the if game. I don't like doing this if he's healthy, if he's that, right? And I know I just kind of said that about Clay Holmes, but we saw him actually do that last year.
Clay Holmes can do it. We know he could do it.
Right. But in the case of Senga, I said it in September of last year before he took the minor league assignment. The Mets are they doing more harm to the rest of the guys in their rotation than they are good just to accommodate Kodai Senga? Because if that's the case, then you got to get rid of him. And I think they really did look to try to trade him similar to Vientos this past year and just didn't get the return that they were hoping for. I mean, 2 guys at their lowest values at that time this winter. So I think they're going to try to roll with it. He's in here. He's healthy. He's throwing 98. I know he gave up 2 home runs the other day in spring training, but they're going to give it a shot. And if he does pitch the way that he did last year in the first half, not even that, but just, like a top 3 in the rotation kind of arm, you're going to be feeling pretty good about this group. But again, that's another if that I just gave you.
Yeah, but here's the thing for me. Like, I like that Peralta wants to take the ball every 5th day. Now, when you have a guy like McLean, this guy McLean looks like he's a number 1 starter. I want him taking the ball every 5th day too. Now, I know we got to be careful with young guys and innings limits, and I get all that. But I don't want Kodai Senga to hamper the development of other pitchers, such as a McLean, such as, David Peterson, or, I want these guys at their best. And I just hope Kodai Senga doesn't kind of mess that up. That's where I'm at least.
No, I'm totally in lockstep with you because I've said the same thing. I don't want them to put whatever makes Kodai Senga feel right ahead of the rest of the 5 men in that group, right? You got to do what is best for the entire rotation, not just for Kodai. They're unfortunately in one of those tough spots where he, for some reason, is still not ready to pitch in a 5-man rotation now in his 4th season here from Japan. And they just don't have any like roster flexibility. I mean, unless they're going to put Peterson in the bullpen, but still, you need another arm to put into the rotation to help Senga out. Unless he's willing to finally adapt and pitch to the 5-man rotation. He said something about it a couple days ago. I don't think that's in the Mets' plans, though. And I'm with you, man. I would like them to go back to that and try to prioritize everybody else, not just one guy.
Right, right. When it comes to, the rotation, I don't think Christian Scott's going to make the team, but today, 3 innings, I think he was almost perfect there. What happens with Christian Scott this year? Going to start at the minors, I assume, and then maybe be a call-up mid-season? Is that how you see it? Or
yeah, I mean, the way I see it, honestly, I think Christian Scott is the first arm that they go to in the minor leagues when they need it. He's going to start.
So before Tong, he's good. It's Christian Scott.
Yeah, okay. Without a doubt. Tong, obviously, I think we can all agree, got rushed up last year. Hopefully it did not hamper his development, and he's still got a lot of work to do. Still needs to add another pitcher to his repertoire. So let him have all the time down in AAA that he needs to master all of that stuff. As far as Scott, I mean, he was up and down a little bit. Okay, not so great in his 2024 season when he made like a handful of starts, got bit by the home run ball a lot, and needed to work on some things, no doubt. But he was ready for the majors. He was ready to make those adjustments at the major leagues, and now he's only come back up and thrown even harder post Tommy John, which is not abnormal. That's pretty common with guys that get TJ surgery. So that's a great sign. But I think let him start the year in AAA. Let him get his legs under him, his arm loosened and, stretched out. And I think outside of them having the occasional spot start from that Tobias Myers in their bullpen, if they got a need for someone in the starting rotation for the long haul, 2-3 turns through, it's going to be Christian Scott.
Yeah. And just to kind of finish off the whole rotation, who do you got? Who gives us the biggest surprise? Who are we most pleasantly surprised of when we talk Kodai, Peterson,
Sean Manaea?
I was going to include Holmes, but forget that. So, with those 3, who's our pleasant surprise? And who's the guy that disappoints us?
Wow, that's tough. Man, I'm going to say Peterson disappoints us.
Really?
I mean, man, he was solid in the first half. He was really good in the second half of 24, and then the bullpen in the playoffs that year. I don't know what it is with Peterson, but I just still have this trust issue with him. Former first rounder, just never really lived up to it. His college arm out of Oregon. I thought this guy was going to be a number one day, and just hasn't lived up to it. I think he's going to be serviceable. I think he's going to pitch like a 4, but I think the idea of him ever stepping into that like top of the rotation type of arm, I think it's over with. And we'll see if he's even back. I mean, free agent after this year. So it is a big year for him. So
and also too, he's been a guy that's never been able to put a full season together. It's always been one great first half or one great second half, and always some kind of injury in between. It's never been from A to, from beginning to end. That's never been with him. So I get it. I actually thought since this might be his last year, I thought maybe it gives him a motivation, salary, looking to get some bread in the offseason. That's why I'm picking him to be my surprise, my pleasant surprise. Whereas, the other guys, Manaea, I think I watched him, and I was in the first row, and I watched him pitch. He was hitting 87 on that ball on the screen.
You're not impressed?
No, I was. I mean, they were the Marlins were just nuking it off. I mean, they were just hard outs, every single out. Bah! You hit them with a crack, boom, boom, and they were just one of them hit a home run, and you knew it was gone the second. I think Manaea is cooked, but that's just me. That's hope I'm wrong.
Hey, no, and it's totally fair to say it could be Peterson as the positive surprise because of that contract year. So, I mean, that's definitely something possible. I think I'm going to say the positive surprise for me is Kodai Senga, and that is contingent on him actually going out and pitching and making 25 starts. I need to see that. Otherwise,
how about working out those hamstrings too, Tony? How about we start doing that?
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't have any errant throws from his first baseman when he's covering the bag over there, and we don't have to worry about it then. But
Underhand.
I'll digress. I think if he gives you 25 starts with an ERA around 3.3, 3.4, I'd sign for that from Kodai Senga today, wouldn't you? I mean, it's not
in a second.
Yeah, and I think that's possible, and I think he's going to do that. I'm not saying it's going to be that first half of the 1.50 ERA like he did last year over 14 starts. Like, no, come on, that was never even going to hold up last year. So if he give you what I just said, I think I'd be positively, pleasantly surprised by that.
Last thing on the rotation, and then we'll get into predictions, and then we'll wrap up. McLean. What are we going to get out of McLean this year? Is he going to really be that ace that we all hope and pray for, or is he going to have some struggles like every major leaguer does? He's that's not named Jacob deGrom. Like, what are you thinking there? I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping for ace, number 1, number 2 type stuff, but I'm also being a realist too. He's a young kid.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the way you put it, because there's almost nobody that just comes up and dominates. Like, Paul Skeens might be the only exception to that, because if you remember, even DeGrom had his issues at times. Until that,
we talked about him as like a number 3 when he first came up, right? Like, it was never.
Yeah, and obviously, that great postseason in 2015 and started in LA, but then they had that issue. I think it was 2016 or maybe 17. The whole thing with Terry Collins having to go console him in the dugout, and that really turned him around and got him back on track. So I think that Nolan McLean is going to be an ace. I'm not going to say that it won't be without struggles like Paul Skeens, who just has carved up the entire league since he debuted, but I don't think it's going to be very big issues. I think, every now and again, he's going to get bombed, give up 2 home runs and maybe a 4 or a 5 spot. But I think in between those, there's going to be 7 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, shutout ball, 8 innings, shutout ball. So it's not all going to be perfect, but no. I think you're going to get you're going to be talking about him as one of the top 15 pitchers and starting pitchers in baseball entering next year.
Wow. Okay. So you have high hopes. Okay. So you're talking sub 2-3 ERA. You're talking 150 innings will be fair, right? I mean nobody pitches 200 innings anymore.
150 and 160 is probably the smart area where they keep them, especially with a hope of there being postseason ball this time in Queens. Yeah. So if you give him 150 in the regular season, I could see it being anywhere from a 2.9 to a 3.30 ERA, something like that. And that's a great rookie year. That's something you build off of. That's crazy. Good stuff.
I mean, sign me up, right? Sign me up. So last thing before we get out of here, let's talk predictions. I'll go first.
All right.
I'm saying Mets are going to be. They're going to make the wild card. They're not going to win the division. I think the Braves get the division. I think we finish in second. Win total, I'm going to say 86 to 90, somewhere in that window, maybe 88. I'm going to go 88 wins, and that's going to get us somewhere in the wild card. Don't know what number it'll get us, but I do think we'll be better than the Phillies. But the Braves, I think they're going to be probably the kings of the division just because they have all their guys coming back healthy this year. I think they made a lot of good free agent signings, and also the Mets are a brand new team. So I think it's going to take a little bit before the Mets really start clicking. And I think they're going to click probably more towards in the June, July, second half like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair assessment. And I'm right there with you. I'm going to say 89. I think they have a ceiling of 94. They might even have a floor though of 81. That's the scary thing about
83. I'd call it same as last year.
I would probably say 83. I don't see anything worse than last year, but it's just funny when you have a new team with so many new faces. There is just so much variance in what could happen. So I'm leaning toward the positive side. I think 89 to 90 wins is probably where I'm going to have them at this year. As far as the division, I think the Mets are better than the Phillies, and I think that the Phillies were playing their best baseball at the right time last year while the Mets were playing their worst baseball at the worst time last year. The Braves, tricky. They already had some injuries in their rotation, lost 3 guys that they were expecting to have, so that's a big blow already for them. And
they never recovered after that bad start. They never recovered.
No, and so I do think they will bounce back, but it's hard for me to put the Mets at the top of the division. I'm just going to say this. I do think the Mets are making the playoffs. I still can't say they're the division winner, but I also can't definitively put those other two teams over the top above the
Right,
Mets either.
right.
So I'll come down to, hey, how do those teams play each other and who stays the healthiest?
Yeah. Okay, Tone. Last thing, WBC prediction.
Oh, gotta go Team USA, of course, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Come
All
on,
right.
gotta go Team USA.
Team USA over Team DR, I think maybe.
Hey,
Or
Team DR. Look. I mean, for me, this is different. This is baseball, but when the what is it? What are they even called? The World Cup for soccer.
right,
As a paisan, I always am
right.
rooting for Italy. I'm
Of
sorry,
course.
soccer's not American.
2006 Forza, baby.
Come on, right there you go. That's my guy. But when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, gotta go with the Stars and Stripes. They've looked really good, but Team DR looks dangerous, and they are having fun doing it. That would be a lit championship. I don't even know if that's a possible scenario based on
Yeah.
brackets.
I don't know either.
That
I'm
would
just
be
throwing it
amazing,
out there.
man. Oh my God, lit.
Yeah, crazy. All right, Tone. I appreciate you so much for coming on. Tell everybody where they could find you, where to go, and do all that stuff.
I appreciate being on. It was awesome, Eddie. You guys could all find me, Tony Metro, pretty much all across the board: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even a Facebook page. So just Tony Metro. There might be like a Tony Metro 7, but if you just type in Tony Metro, you'll pretty much find it pretty easily on any of those.
Yeah, you got to follow Tony. Hit all the likes, hit all the subscribes. The shorts Tony makes are off the hook. Tony, I appreciate you coming on. You are welcome here any other time. With that said, thank you so much, and let's go Mets.
Let's go, Matt.
Good night, everybody. I don't want to take any more of your time.